download our Revise It Right revision app for hundreds of videos, quizzes, exam questions, tutor support and so much more. This is a video about fighting disease. Now your body has a primary and a secondary defence system. They can also be called a non-specific and a specific defence system. So the primary defence or the non-specific defence system consists of really trying to stop the pathogens from getting into your body in the first place or into your blood. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw an outline of a human to help me out with my drawings. Okay, so first of all, our body contains or has skin on it, as we all know. Okay, now this actually acts as a barrier to prevent pathogens from getting in. Okay, so the skin acts as a barrier to prevent pathogens from getting in. It also secretes or makes something called antimicrobial secretions which kill pathogens. Okay, so your skin acts as a barrier, number one, but it also secretes something called antimicrobial secretions which kill and destroy pathogens. Okay, you also have your nose, which contains nose hairs. Okay, so your nose hairs trap pathogens. And then your nose produces a mucus, which is very, very sticky, to trap the pathogens. And then you can dispose of these to stop them from getting in. Now your trachea, which you'll remember is your windpipe, and your bronchus, your bronchi, also contain hairs. So trachea and bronchi also contain hairs, and they also produce a mucus to trap pathogens. Okay, so your trachea, your bronchus, they contain hairs and produce a mucus to trap pathogens. Now your trachea also contains something called ciliated epithelial cells, or cilia, which waft that trapped mucus and those pathogens back up into your mouth. So really you don't want them getting down into the lungs to infect your lungs, so it traps them in the trachea and it traps them with the mucus and it wafts it back up to your mouth. And then these can then be swallowed down the esophagus. Okay, and then our stomach contains stomach acid. Now the stomach acid can also kill pathogens. So they kind of work together. If your trachea traps the pathogens, you can bring it back up to your mouth with the cilia. It wafts back up and then you can swallow it into the stomach, where the stomach acid will kill the pathogens. So all of these are examples of non-specific defence, or our primary defence system. So we've got the skin, we've got the stomach, we've got the trachea, bronchus, and we've also got the nose and nose hairs. Remember to download our Revise It Right revision app, watch over 700 videos, answer 4,000 plus quiz questions, over 1,000 flashcards, 1,000 exam questions, worksheets, forums, and get help from qualified teachers and so much more. The link is in the description. However, this doesn't always work, as we know, because we do occasionally get ill and pathogens do occasionally make their way into our blood. So this is where our secondary defence system comes in, or we also call it our specific defence system. Okay, now this really consists of our white blood cells. Okay, now our white blood cells do three things to prevent harm from microorganisms. So one is they consume them. Really, the scientific way to say that is they engulf them. Okay, so they engulf unwanted pathogens. So if we draw this and we've got a pathogen here, a white blood cell will come along and engulf, consume that pathogen. And this will, of course, then destroy the pathogen. And now a second thing they can do, or white blood cells can do, is produce antitoxins. Now you'll remember from our communicable disease video that bacteria cause disease by producing toxins. Now antitoxins counteract these toxins that are produced. So if you have a bacteria cell producing the toxins, so we'll call them toxins, and our white blood cell then produces antitoxins which counteract the effects of the toxins, so make us feel less ill. So one way, remember, white blood cells can work is by consuming, engulfing pathogens. A second way is to produce antitoxins which counteract the effects of the toxins. And the final way, so we said there were three, the third way that our white blood cells can defend against disease, and this is a very, very powerful thing, is they can produce something called antibodies. Okay, now each cell, each microorganism, each pathogen that gets in, whether it be a virus, whether it be a bacteria, has something on its surface called an antigen. Now this kind of acts as a unique marker so we can identify the cell. Okay, so all of our cells have antigens as well, and our white blood cells can identify them as our own cells so it won't start attacking them. However, different diseases have different antigens. So for example here, if we draw the disease, the virus measles, this will have an antigen that is specific to measles. Now what happens is the white blood cells will produce antibodies, and lots of antibodies, and these antibodies will attach, so antibodies will attach to the antigen on the pathogen. Okay, so these attached to the antigens on the pathogen, and the antibodies are specific to the antigens. So only the antibodies for measles, will attach to the antigen on measles. Okay, now these are very, very powerful, and the reason these are really, really useful is that once these antibodies have been produced, they can then be reproduced again, but much quicker. Much quicker. And why that's so powerful is because then you are said to be immune from a certain disease. Because then again, if the measles infected you again and you got the measles virus, your white blood cells already know how to produce the antibodies, so they can produce them much quicker next time, and it can destroy the measles pathogen much quicker before you even get ill from the disease. So that is why antibodies are very, very useful. They help our immunity, and there's what make us immune to certain diseases. So three things there really that our white blood cells do. They engulf, they produce antitoxins, and they also produce antibodies. Now it'd be a good idea to have a go at these questions to make sure that you understood the topic. So we'll go through the answers after you've done them. So pause the video now. Okay, so let's go through the answers for this video. So first of all, what is a pathogen? Well, we can describe it as a microorganism that causes disease. So that's how we can describe our pathogen. List the non-specific defense systems the body has. Well, it has the skin, has nose hair, has hair and cilia in the trachea, and stomach acid. What three ways can white blood cells protect us from invading pathogens? Well, they can engulf, they can produce antitoxins, and they can also produce antibodies. What property of the stomach helps to stop food poisoning? Well, it's the same property of the stomach that really can help us prevent any sort of disease, and that is the stomach acid. Name 3 specific viral diseases. So this has taken us back to last video, so if you haven't watched this then please do. But we have measles, we have HIV, and we have tobacco mosaic virus. Which virus causes fever and a red rash in humans? That would be measles. So again, that was from last video, so if you haven't watched it then please do. Apart from vaccination, what other methods would be effective in reducing the spread of a virus? So really, in terms of measles, it would be isolating infected individuals. And finally, which viral disease causes flu-like symptoms and weakens the immune cells? That is HIV, and again comes from the previous video, so please make sure you watch that. So you've now learnt about how the body fights disease with both its primary and secondary defence systems. Now you can move on to test yourself using the quiz and make sure you work through the exam questions to really check your understanding. If anything in this lesson you have not understood, then if you're a paying member, please do get in contact with one of our tutors and they will happily help